Hey guys, welcome to my channel iCode. I'm Pallav and today we are going to look at a very interesting and useful topic, compositional layout. While having conversations with iOS developers through LinkedIn, Facebook, and interviews, I realized that most of them are not comfortable using compositional layout. And when I tried finding the reason, I realized that either they have not explored it or they found it confusing. And I don't understand why. Because compositional layout is that one magical thing which is very easy to use and that takes your UI to next level with minimal efforts. Apps like Photos, Instagram, App Store, and I can keep on saying the names. They all use compositional layout. So if you are still using the conventional collection view flow layout, you must give it a second thought. Today in this video, we will deep dive into it. This is the screenshot of Instagram search screen. And you can see that the layout is kind of staggered. What I mean to say is that cells are not uniform. Some are larger in size, some are comparatively smaller. And we will be building something like this today. Or should I say that we will be building something more complex where the cells will have a more non-uniform fashion. This is what we will be building today. It will be a vertically scrollable collection view having images and the cells will be of different size. We'll use compositional layout for it. But imagine that if this is to be done using the conventional collection view flow layout, how difficult it can be. So here I am having this empty Xcode project. It is having nothing but just this empty view controller. And before jumping to compositional layout, that actually what it is, how it can be used, how it is different from the conventional flow layout, how it can help in creating the complex layouts. Let's first set up the basic collection view in which we'll be using our compositional layout. And we won't be using the storyboards or XIVs for that. So I'm having this C code snippet for setting up the collection view right here, and you can see that there's nothing much going on there. We have just initialized a collection view using the collection view flow layout. For now we'll definitely change this because that's the whole purpose of this video. And we just gave the frame of the self.view. Delegate and data source has been set as self. We gave the background color as white. Well, that's optional, we can even remove it. And we have registered a collection view cell and added the collection view as a subview. That's all going on there. And because we have set the self as delegate and data source, let's confirm to those. So right there, here in these delegate methods, I'm just returning 20 as number of cells, and in this cell I'm doing nothing much but just setting a random color as the background color of the cell. So for that we must have something known as random. So for that I'm having this extension on the UI color. This will return me a random color. So let's just give it a run. Okay, before that we need to call this method from our view did load, set up collection view, and let's give it a run. So this is just a basic setup, a normal collection view that we have been using for years. So once this will be set up, we'll be replacing this collection view flow layout with our compositional layout. This is how it looks, and our basic collection view has been set up. Now let's understand that what is the difference between the flow layout and the compositional layout and how it can help us. This is the anatomy of a conventional collection view flow layout. Well, there's a layout, and inside the layout we have sections. In the sections we have items. So that is how the layout works. We can create different sections. In sections we can have different cells, what we call as items. And of course we have the section view headers, which I have not mentioned here, but majorly these are all the components which together makes the collection view flow layout, and we have been using this for years. Now let's understand that what is the difference in the compositional layout. So if you notice that in the anatomy of the compositional layout, there's one more component added which was missing in the flow layout, and that is groups. So if you see in the layout, there are sections. In the sections there are groups, and items reside within the groups. So we can have more than one groups under a section and many sections in a layout like we used to have in collection view flow layout. So that is similar, but the new thing added here is the groups. So items directly do not reside in the sections, they are the part of the group, and then group is the part of the section. This is how it is organized. And the best part is, rather I would say, that the power of the compositional layout is that you can have groups within the groups. So you can have the nested groups. And that is how we make those complex layouts. So if you focus on what we will be building today, Here's the screenshot of the collection view that we saw earlier, and next to it you can see that the cells are not having the images on them, and that's just for making the understanding easier. So this is how the items have been placed, and you can notice that there's a pattern. After the third row, or should I say after 8th item, you can see that pattern repeating. So let's break it to have a clear picture. This is the basic block after which the repetition is starting. So we'll try to make this. Once we make this, the repetition will keep on going. So here you can see that there are 3 groups, or should I say that there's one container group in which there are 3 subgroups. The first group is having the item 1, the second group is having the item 2, 3, 4, 5, and the third group is having the item 6, 7, 8. So we are having one container group which is a vertical group. It is having 3 horizontal groups. The first group is having 1 item, the second group is having 4 items, and the third group is having 3 items. All these 3 groups are horizontal groups. If we break it further, you can notice that the second group is further having 2 horizontal groups. One is having the item 2 and the second one is having item 3, 4, 5. This group can be further broken into 2 more groups, that is the vertical group. So in that vertical group, the first item is item 3, and in the second group, it is a horizontal group having the item 4 and 5. So we have our collection view set, which is using UICollectionViewFlowLayout. So the first thing that we need to do is change this CollectionViewFlowLayout with the compositional layout. For that, we'll make a method here. So func get compositional layout maybe, and from here we'll return the compositional layout. But for now, let's call it here get compositional layout, and here we'll be building our compositional layout for the UI that we want. And our approach will be to start from the higher end component, which depends on the other components. So we'll start from layout. Layout requires section, we'll create section. Section requires group, we'll create group. And this way, in no time, our compositional layout will be built. So let's start with that. Let layout is equal to, I'll say, collection view compositional layout. And this requires a section. So let's go for creating a section. Let section is equal to, and the section should be of type collection layout section. So I'll go for collection layout section, and section requires a group. So let's go for creating a group here. Let group is equal to, and it should be of type ns collection layout group, ns collection layout group, and the group requires a size. But here we have 2 options. Either we can go for creating a group this way, or we can explicitly mention that what kind of group we want. It can be a vertical group or it can be a horizontal group. So here I'll go for creating a a vertical group. So I'll just write vertical here, and this requires a size and the sub items. So let's first create the size, or directly pass it here, maybe ns collection layout size. Now for width and height, we have 4 options here. So either we can go for providing an absolute value, or we can provide an estimated value. In that case, the layout will adjust itself as per the given estimated value, or we can give a fractional width and a fractional height. These fractional width or height takes a value from 0 to 1, and it corresponds to the width or height of the container. So let's say if I'm giving the width and height, the fractional width and fractional height to an item, it will correspond to the group in which it is embedded. Or if I'm giving the fractional width and fractional height to a group, it will correspond to the width and height of the group in which that group is embedded, if it is a nested group. I understand that it is appearing a little bit confusing, but if you have worked with auto layout, you can relate it with that, and then it will be quite easy to understand. So let's say that if I want to give the half of the width of the container, I'll just put 1/2 or 0.5, whatever you're comfortable with. So let's go for using it. It will clear the picture. So here for this group, I'll give the fractional width as 1 because I want my group to have the width equal to my collection view. So that's why I give it as 1. And the height, I want it to be 600. So I'll use absolute here. 600, and now it requires sub items. So in the sub items, either we can pass another group or an item. So for now we'll go for passing an item. Let's create one. So let item is equal to ns collection layout item, and this item further requires a layout size. So let's create it, layout size. And for width, I want my item to have the equal width as that of my group. So I'll again use the fractional width here with value as 1. And the height of each of my items should be 1/3 of my group. So if I pass 600 here as height, each of my items should have the height as 200. So for that, I'll give it as fractional height and say 1/3. Now let's just pass this item here, item, and let's pass the group in the section and the section in the layout. And finally, let's return the layout, return layout. And instead of, my bad, I forgot to mention the return type here, compositional layout. And instead of 20, I'll just change it to 3 just to verify our implementation, and let's give it a run. As expected, this is our group, the container group we can refer to. It is having the height as 600, and each of my item is having the height 1/3 of the group. So these 3 items are having the equal height as 200. Now let's proceed, and now what I want is that 2 items in this place and 3 items in this place. But because an item cannot have further sub items, so what we'll do is we'll change these 2 as the groups and we'll leave the first one as the item. So let's create a container group in which the other 2 groups will be embedded. So here let container group is equal to ns collection layout group dot vertical, and the size will be what we gave here. So let's just copy it from here. And the sub items, here we'll be passing the item that we are having here and the 2 other groups that we need to create. So let's go for it. Let's create our first group. First, just let's replace this group 1 with the container group, and let's create a group 1, maybe group 1 ns collection layout group. The group will be a horizontal group, and the size, so for the width will be equal to the group, so this will be fractional width as 1, and the height of the group will be 1/3 of the group, just like we were having it for the item. So this will be a fractional height, it's 1/3. And let's create the items for it. So here I'll create it as group 1 item 1. You can have more meaningful variable names, but I'm just putting it as group 1 item here. And this collection layout item, it requires a layout size. And for the size, now what I want here is that the group should have 2 items having equal width. So what I'll do is that I'll put the fractional width as 1/2, and the height should be equal to that of the group, so we can maybe use fractional height as 1. This is group 1 item 1, and let's just pass it here, group 1 item 1. And we want one more group having 3 items, so let's just go for creating it. Let group 2 is equal to ns collection layout group. This will also be an horizontal group, and in the layout size, I want the width of each item to be 1/3 of the container's width, so I'll put as 1/3, and the height should be equal to that of my group, so I'll put it as 1. And now let's go for, my bad, the width of the group will be equal to its container group, but the width of the items will be 1/3, so we'll put it there. So let say group 2 item 1 maybe, and ns collection layout item, the size required here. So the width of the item will be 1/3. So I'll put this 1/3 here, and the height will be 1, that is equal to this group 2, the height of this group 2, and let's pass it here. So here it's group 2 item 1, and now let's pass these two groups, group 1 and group 2, in our container group where we are having this item. So as I mentioned earlier, that this sub items can take both items and groups. So that's the power of compositional layout, group 1 and group 2. And the fractional height that I gave to group 2, my bad, it should have been 1/3 here. And before giving it a run, let's change the number of items from 3 to say 6. And let's change the background color. I'm not liking the black color in the background, so maybe background color is equal to say white. Now let's give it a run. Right there, so we are having this container group in which we are having 3 groups. So this is the vertical group, these are the horizontal groups, this is just an item, and these two are the horizontal groups. Each horizontal group are having items. So this is having 2 items and this is having 3 items. We have divided the width accordingly. And now something that is appearing weird to me is that these items are not having spacing between them. So maybe we can give the content insets to the items. So let's go for it. Item dot content insets is equal to directional edge insets, and just like Instagram, I guess it is having the spacing 1 between each cells. So let's do the same here. And one thing which is not directly related to the compositional layout, but I would just like to share it with you. Did you ever give a thought that why do we call these constraints as leading and trailing instead of left and right? Because we are having the other two constraints as top and bottom. It could have been left and right, while leading and trailing. Because for the languages which are written from right to left, your constraint do not break. That's why it is called leading. So let's proceed and let's copy this for all other items. So this is for group 1 item 1, and I'll copy the same for group 2 item 1. And now let's see it. Awesome. So we have made quite a good progress, and now what we want is that we want to have further more items in this particular item. So instead of keeping this as an item, we'll have to change it as a group. So let's go for it. So we'll change this item in a vertical group, which will be having 2 items. And before making the changes, because we are having quite an amount of code here, so let's just put some separators maybe. So let's say that this is for group 1 and this is for group 2 and this is where everything is being embedded. So let's put it as container group. Now what we need to do is our item will remain as it is, our group 2 will remain as it is. We only need to make changes in group 1. So here where we are having this group 1 item 1 as the sub items, we'll have one more sub item and that will be a group. So let's create our nested group first and then we'll create the item the way we have been doing it. So let's create let nested group 1 maybe is equal to ns collection layout group, and this group will be a vertical group. So let's keep it as vertical, and for its size it will be half of its container, so 1/2 here, and height will be equal to its container's height, so 1 here, and we'll give the sub items in a moment. Now let's create its sub item. So let's say nested group 1 item 1 maybe, and this will be an item. So ns collection layout item, And for the size, it will be having the width equal to its container, but the height will be half. So the fractional width will be 1 and the fractional height will be 1 by 2. And let's put this nested group item 1 here. Also, let's give it the content in sets, same as we gave it to the other items. So nested group 1 item 1, like that. And here let's pass this nested group 1, right? So now let's check it. So we got our group here, but we see that one item is missing, and that is because our number of items is here 6. Let me change it to 7. Now if we check it, we'll have that missing item in place. So this way we are having our groups inside the groups, and we are having that complex layout, which is very difficult, I believe, if we go for making this with the conventional collection view flow layout. So, and you can keep on playing with this. You can keep on embedding the groups into the groups, items into the groups. You can go crazy with your imaginations and then can implement it using the compositional layout. So this is really good thing. And now in place of these random colors, let's put some images there so that it actually looks like Instagram's screen or whatever you call it. So let's go for it. Here in the collection view cell, instead of this random color, I'll just put an image here like this. So we are doing nothing much here. There's an image view. We gave the frame of the cell to the image view, and we are assigning it an image from the assets. So in my assets, I'm already having these images named as 1 2 3 4 5 6. We'll just use the index path for the naming. The content mode is scale to fill, and for the constraints, I'm having this method as add subview. So this is nothing much, but it just anchors the subview to its super view right there. So now let's give it a run. Our collection view is having the images, and why just 7? Why not 70? So let's increase the number of items here and let's give it a run. And now we can just keep on scrolling, keep on playing with our collection view, and this is looking really nice. And I understand that this would have been really difficult if we would have been using the collection view flow layout for implementing this. And I understand that yes, I have left this part here, but because of the length of the video, I'm just skipping it. But you can implement it. All you need to do is just replace this item with a horizontal group having 2 items. That's all. And if you're thinking that it is okay to have the compositional layout where we need to make such complex UIs there, but how can it help us in our the conventional layouts that we have normally in our app, where we have one carousel, we have certain sections down there, and then we use it. So let me just tell you that the compositional layout is very useful in those places too. So I'll just tell you that how you can make the carousel using the compositional layout, and it is damn easy, believe me. So instead of this, I'll just comment it out for now. And you don't worry about the code. I'll share the GitHub's repo link in the description so you can clone it from there. I'm just commenting it for now. And for the carousel, I'm already having this saved code snippet here. I'll just explain it to you over there. So we are doing the same thing except this. So I'll explain this. We are having this layout where we are passing the section, we are having section where we are passing the group, we are having this group which is the horizontal group, and then we have one item right there. So let's just first see it, and instead of images, let me put it back to the random colors. So cell dot background color is equal to random right there. So we are having this as the vertically scrolling list, and you would be thinking that this does not look like a carousel. So now this is the line that will do the magic. So there's this property orthogonal scrolling behavior. So if I change it to say continuous, and we apply this on our section, and now if I give it a run, you will see the magic happening. You will see the carousel. So like this, and now with just one line extra you are having this carousel sort of thing, and if you want it to be paging, you can just change the continuous to the paging, and then it will scroll in the paginated fashion like this. And you can even have animations for it, so I'll not go into much details for the animation. I'll just show you for explaining the power of the compositional layout. So if I go for here, and maybe if I make this width to 0.95, although there's not much going on here, it's just basic math, but still I'll put this code in my GitHub repo, so you can refer it from there. Or if you want me to explain it in detail and to make more videos on the compositional layout of such kind, you can put it in comment. I'll try to cover it. And now if you see here like this, so there's this animation sort of thing. So what I want to convey here is that compositional layout is really useful. If you're still using the conventional collection view flow layout, give it a second thought that can it be replaced with the compositional layout, and you will get the enormous benefits of it. So that's pretty much for this video. A new video comes out every Sunday, so stay tuned. Let's write better code together. Happy coding and stay safe.